Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into what is honestly one of the most fascinating and transformative encounters in all of spiritual history. We're going to break down this extraordinary moment where a deeply entrenched, super powerful political viceroy completely transforms into the central pillar of spiritual wisdom. It's an incredible story of status, humility, and a literal paradigm-shifting conversation that, crazy enough, is still being celebrated all over the world more than 5 centuries later. All right, let's just dive right into it. Picture this. We're on the banks of the sacred Godavari River. You've got the scent of the forest in the air, traditional music playing, Vedic mantras being chanted all around. And arriving in absolute, jaw-dropping grandeur on a palanquin, surrounded by an entourage of Orthodox priests, is the governor of the empire. And waiting for him, right there on the riverbank, having just finished bathing, is a wandering monk. It is literally the ultimate clash of worlds. So you have to wonder, what actually happens when a political heavyweight crosses paths with a mystic? To really grasp the gravity of this, you got to look at the sheer contrast between these two figures. On one side, you have Ramananda Raya. He's the incredibly wealthy, influential governor of East and West Godavari, basically the top minister to King Prataprachudra. And importantly, he belongs to the Shudra community, which was the 4th caste in the social order back then. Now, on the exact opposite side is Lord Caitanya. He's a sannyasi, a renounced monk wearing simple saffron robes, who the texts describe as having an aura as brilliant as 100 suns. So when these two met, the rigid societal norms of the 16th century were completely shattered. Sri Caitanya, who is also known as Mahaprabhu, eagerly walked right up and warmly embraced the governor. And the Orthodox priests watching, they were absolutely floored. I mean, here was this brilliant, seemingly divine monk crying and hugging a 4th caste government official, and both of them were showing these overwhelming ecstatic symptoms, crying, shivering, just totally losing their composure. What's truly wild here is the profound humility captured in this single moment. I mean, despite being a governor, a guy with immense wealth and state power, Ramananda Raya falls flat on the ground out of pure respect. He looks up and tells Lord Chaitanya, "You are the supreme personality of Godhead. I am only a government servant interested in materialistic activities." He literally viewed himself as completely unqualified. He even pointed out that Vedic rules technically forbade a monk from even associating with someone of his social standing. But that level of profound humility, it just completely leveled the playing field and set the stage for this radical message of spiritual equality. Section 1. The Ultimate Spiritual Q&A. So later that evening, the two of them meet up in a secluded spot for what basically turns into an absolute masterclass in spirituality. But there's a catch. In a total reversal of roles, the monk becomes the eager student and the politician becomes the teacher. Lord Chaitanya kicks off this rapid-fire interview, pressing Ramananda Raya for the absolute deepest spiritual truths. And he starts with a question that, honestly, we all still wrestle with today. What is the best education among all kinds of learning? And Ramananda Raya's answer is an immediate paradigm shift. He doesn't say politics or administration or even the complex philosophy that he was actually super well-versed in. He just says, devotion to Krishna. True education, he explains, isn't about cramming your head with material knowledge or worldly facts. It's simply the awakening of pure devotion. Keeping up this rhythmic, back-and-forth pacing, Lord Chaitanya raises the stakes. He asks about the ultimate treasure a human being can possibly possess. What is the supreme wealth? And remember who he's asking here. This is a governor who literally holds the keys to an empire's treasury. But again, Ramananda Raya completely bypasses his material reality. He answers love of Radha Krishna. He makes it absolutely crystal clear that love, specifically divine unconditional love, is the highest possible wealth you can have. Not the material riches, and definitely not the political power that he managed every single day of his life. Then Lord Chaitanya asks this incredibly universal question, one that really strikes at the core of the human condition. What is the greatest unhappiness? It's the kind of question that forces you to look way past superficial annoyances and find the actual root of human pain. And his answer is just so profound. He says to not have the association of devotees of Krishna. He's highlighting the absolute necessity of community here. He's saying that true sorrow, that really deep, soul-crushing unhappiness, doesn't come from being broke or lacking status. It comes from spiritual isolation. We fundamentally need to be around people who elevate our consciousness. Section 2. Ascending the Staircase of Devotion. Now, as they talked, Lord Chaitanya kept pushing Ramananda to go deeper and deeper. It's like he was urging him up this massive spiritual staircase. So, Ramananda starts at the base, observing basic social and spiritual duties, which is a system known as varnashrama. Then he steps up to renouncing the fruits of your actions. But Mahaprabhu, he wanted more. So Ramananda details pure devotional service. And finally, he describes the absolute highest peak, the mood of conjugal love, specifically pointing to the super excellent, highly confidential mood of Srimati Radharani's devotion to Krishna, known as Radha Vaishnava Tattva. And right here, Ramananda Raya drops this brilliant metaphor to explain the difference between just having intellect and actually experiencing love. He compares empiric philosophers, the folks who rely entirely on dry logic, to crows trying to suck juice out of the incredibly bitter fruit of the nimba tree. But on the flip side, those who embrace devotion, they are like cuckoos drinking the sweet nectar of mango buds. I just love that. It perfectly captures why the pure joy of devotion will always triumph over the dry, bitter process of philosophical speculation. Which brings us to the absolute climax of their meeting. Ramananda Raya starts singing a song he composed himself, detailing the ultimate ecstatic emotion of divine love, known as Prem Vivarta Vilasa. And at that exact moment, Lord Chaitanya literally reaches out and covers Ramananda's mouth with his hand. It was his way of confirming, yes, you have reached the absolute limit of the goal of human life. Lord Chaitanya then actually reveals his esoteric, combined divine form to him, and it was so overwhelming, so powerful, that the governor just felt completely unconscious. Section 3. A Life Fully Surrendered. As you can imagine, this encounter completely changed the trajectory of Ramananda Raya's life. Following Lord Chaitanya's instruction, he actually went and got permission from his king to step down from his incredibly powerful governorship. He left his entire political career in the dust to go live in Jagannath Puri with Lord Chaitanya. Once there, he spent his time composing these elaborate dramas for the Lord, and the texts point out his absolute, unparalleled purity. Get this, even when he was personally directing and decorating young dancing girls for these theatrical performances, his mind remained completely 100% undisturbed, which proves a really vital point. True renunciation is all about your mind's unwavering focus on the divine, not just dressing up like a monk. He eventually became Lord Chaitanya's constant companion, reciting scriptures to soothe him during his final days. Section 4. The Legacy of Divine Love. Okay, so how does this 16th century story actually connect to us today? Well, on Thursday, May 7th, 2026, millions of devotees all across the globe in the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition are going to be observing Sri Ramananda Raya's Disappearance Day. They'll be holding festivals, reading the exact conversation we literally just broke down, and honoring his sacred departure. So his legacy, it is definitely not just historical trivia. It is a living, breathing practice that is happening right now. The real takeaway here is how we apply this to our own lives. And the modern lessons are pretty powerful. First off, bhakti, or devotion, is infinitely higher than any material success. You could literally have the wealth and power of a governor, but divine love is still the ultimate goal. Second, true humility is the only thing that actually opens the door to wisdom, no matter what your background or social standing is. And finally, spiritual knowledge has to be lived and experienced. You can't just read it in a book. True spirituality is and always will be about the purity of your heart, not your power and not your position. Which brings us to our final thought for today. As you're out there navigating your own stressful modern life, chasing your ambitions, gathering knowledge, it is really worth asking yourself this one question. In your pursuit of success, are you acting like a crow, just eating the bitter fruit of endless material speculation? Or are you learning to be a cuckoo, drinking the sweet nectar of true, unconditional love? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this sparks your curiosity to dive even deeper into your own spiritual journey.